Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest ISPA member video interview, bringing you valuable insights from the booming broadband sector. I'm Andrew Kernahan, ISPA's Head of Public Affairs, and today I have the pleasure to welcome David Alldritt, Technology and Innovation Director from HighNet Telecoms, and Emma Goodwin, Head of Sales for Consumer ISPs at CityFibre. Thank you both for joining us and sharing your insights today into your successful collaboration and what it means for the market. Before that, just want to remind the audience who HighNet Telecoms is. If you're not aware, they're a Scottish business ISP established in 1994. They've recently moved into the consumer market through its broadband division to deliver full fibre gigabit broadband to Inverness, and then I believe also to Glasgow and Renfrewshire at a later date. So we'll talk about that later, David. Sounds very interesting. Whereas CityFibre, probably no introduction to this audience, but they've been deploying full fibre across the UK in towns and cities with the aim of reaching 8 million premises by the end of 2025. CityFibre are now partnering with a number of ISPs and ISPA members to connect customers to their network. So welcome both. As we all know, the market has changed significantly in a short space of time, with consumers and business presented with a wide range of providers and packages and competition at the service and retail level. So I think today will be very insightful to hear from you both about how you made your partnership work together with moving from a business perspective to consumer, which obviously has a lot of challenges, but also hear more about the exciting things that are happening with CityFibre and your full fibre rollout. So to start with, David, I'm going to turn to you just a bit more about entering the consumer market. So first of all, why did a long-standing B2B provider such as yourselves move into the consumer space?
Yeah, in some respects, it was a very straightforward decision because we had existing infrastructure in the ground locally. We had an existing relationship with CityFibre on the B2B side. Inverness is our headquarters. And CityFibre, when they said they were going to build FTTH and build to about 27,000 homes very quickly, it certainly made us sit up and reconsider the position we'd had for the previous 25 years of we do business. It doesn't come without challenges. So in some ways, it was a very simple decision because the infrastructure was there, everything we needed was there, but we had to learn a whole new language to approach the B2C market. We had to look at a different route to market because our B2B proposition is primarily through channel. And we had to look at an awful lot of process automation because we were aware that we would need to move in volume at scale and at pace. And to do that, we'd need to remove as much human touch as we could and really get our systems able to cope with a fully automated end-to-end process. And just have the human beings there for that bit of jeopardy management. So that was a very different approach to where we were from the B2B point of view. But the actual decision-making process, when we looked at the numbers, we thought it all made sense. And above all else, it's our doorstep, it's our home. If anybody's going to do it locally, it should be us.
Sure. And what were the other challenges in moving from one to the other?
There was a fair bit of upskilling in as much as getting our folks to be able to communicate well with customers, the majority of whom are perhaps not as technically aware as our B2B channel partners and end user customers who are often IT managers and people who have a responsibility for the technology. We're having to deal with homeowners who just want the internet to work or who don't understand that their Wi-Fi is broken and just want us to fix it. Some slightly different skills and ways of communicating and some prepared messages we found really quite helpful in that. So that began very early in the communication process with our end-to-end customers to get them aware of what the fibre installation would involve and how it would be different to their old-fashioned copper, and really start that communication process early So yeah, there was a lot of learning to be done on our side.
Yeah, I suppose it's interesting in that there are lots of differences, but at the same time, people just want their broadband to work reliably and perform. I mean, Emma, how have you helped HighNet and other partners transition to the consumer market? David mentioned you already had an existing relationship in the B2B space.
We did. We had an existing relationship, and HighNet spotted the opportunity that they saw with the CityFibre build. Providing, being that third digital infrastructure provider, it's a unique opportunity for new ISPs, smaller ISPs, to compete in that broadband market, which has previously been dominated by tier ones. So HighNet spotted the opportunity. We had a relationship, and as David said, if anyone was going to be able to take Inverness, it was going to be these guys. And it is their home territory, and that is the way that CityFibre works. We work within cities, we build local relationships, and we love the way that HighNet wanted to approach that for the consumer market. And then, taking on a new vertical is a big step for any business, and CityFibre tries to help our partners every step of the way, really. It's not just that network offering. We handhold our partners through onboard and launch, and hopefully David will agree with that. We provide a dedicated account management team, program management, steercos, support with marketing, PR, comms. We pride ourselves on our regional and city information and knowledge base, and we have city managers and city marketing managers in every one of our gigabit cities that support all our partners and ISPs, and they provide incredibly important information on anything from consumer demographics to building relationships with local councils and businesses. So I would say hopefully we helped HighNet by wrapping as much support around them as they needed, and already having that really great relationship to build upon.
That sounds really interesting. And David, just following up on that, I suppose, it is a crowded market. As mentioned, there's some very large consumer ISPs that have a very large part of the market. How do you intend to stand out in what is a competitive market? Is it going to be a hyper-local approach? As Emma said, you must know Inverness better than any ISP for obvious reasons.
Yes, certainly hyperlocality is the key element, but it's our intention to take things further. I mean, we're already in Glasgow and Renfrewshire, and following the back of the build there, moving on with that as quickly as we can. But for us, brand is everything, and if not hyperlocal, we're definitely distinctively Scottish. And for those that might not be aware, braw, as in our broadband offering, is it's a Scottish word meaning it's great, it's brilliant, it's fantastic. So it's been a braw year for us to launch broadband, and that distinctive Scottishness carries through in every angle and flavour and nook and cranny of the brand. So it's proud to be local, but it's also really important for us that standing out isn't just about price, which seems to be the competitive element that most of the large scale players in the market take. It's this race to the bottom on price. So we think that we can offer great value, but we need to do so on a business model that works at our scale. And we don't have to compete on price if we can show better quality, if we've got more of a connection with our customers than the somewhat comparatively faceless large brands might have. So we see that as a real competitive advantage.
It's really interesting. And does the value add come into that too? Is there any other services you add on top to make the service more attractive, be it locally or otherwise?
Yeah, we've launched a voice service on top so that people can get totally rid of the horrible old copper. They don't need it for a fixed line. So those folks that still want a fixed line will provide an IP voice service on the top. And that's a simple click here for the optional extra. And we hope that within a few weeks we'll also be launching our TV offering in partnership with NetGen. So we think we've then got that triple play into the market, and we think that will really help because the pricing, when you look at the overall package of those, is then being really, really keenly competitive. And we've got some uniquely Scottish things about the other elements of our Broadphone and Broadbox packages too.
Yeah, thank you. And then I suppose just following up on that, what works for your partners, do you find? Is there a one-size-fits-all approach, or does the hyper-local nature of it mean that it really is different depending on where you're trying to connect people?
Well, we work with a variety of ISPs, each is different in size, locations that they take and their approach. And as a result, we see success in many different ways. And our job is to be here to allow the ISP to be bespoke, to take the network from us and then differentiate their own product and take that to markets within their own business model in any way that they need to. So we are just here really to help support the requirements of our partners. Some ISPs find that getting out in the field and speaking with their prospective customers face-to-face works best for them, and CityFibre will and can, if needed, help them with that. We have expertise, knowledge in door-to-door sales within our trading teams. We can send someone out with you to write scripts, to walk and knock and learn from the feedback that you get. And then other people are really happy just to do their own thing. They have their brands, they have their pricing, and they just want to take the infrastructure from us. And as long as everything's working swimmingly well, which it always is, then they're happy. So yeah, really different for different partners. But I do believe that this hyper-local model really works, and I think Heinet have been incredibly successful. And the Scottishness of broadband has just been incredible, and it's been wonderful to see how successful you guys have been, David.
I suppose that speaks to a lot of the big trends across the country around levelling up and regional development, and the importance of spreading, I suppose, good connectivity across the UK. David, just following up on that quickly, you mentioned earlier about not being a race to the bottom. What are you offering product-wise to attract people? Is it around speeds? Is it around contract length? How are you pitching that?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time thinking about how we could position ourselves optimally within the market, and we considered all kinds of different angles. Really, from maybe we could just have one product and it's the full gigabit, and it's a real sort of simple proposition. And then we thought, well, does one size fit all? Maybe actually we could be a bit more like the mainstream ISPs and have all kinds of different flavors, have different contract lengths. And I think we found what's the right path for us anyway, which is to have 3 packages. So there's an entry level, there's the middle package where we're actually finding the highest level of take up, and then there's the big one at the end, and then there are sort of 200, 500 and 900 meg packages, but all on a 2-year minimum term. We don't charge for installation or the router, and we find that puts us in the right place in the market where there's no setup costs, so there's no sort of barrier to entry. The contract term is long enough for us to recover those upfront costs and to be comfortable commercially. And every now and again we have someone who has a question about the 2-year minimum term and is asking for a shorter. So we do have an unadvertised shorter option for folks who make that inquiry. And I think that and the fact that the phone is a simple opt-in or don't opt-in option, it has simplified it to an extent that makes it uncomplicated for the customer to find the right product for them.
Thank you. Yeah, the amount of innovation in the market in recent years has thrown up some interesting approaches with more flexibility and different price points. Are really interesting to see. I suppose just maybe a final question, just in terms of time. So yeah, I mean, how do we, and this is actually for both of you, so maybe Emma, if you'd like to start, how can we encourage customers to upgrade TTP where available?
I think it's really more important for us to try to help educate the community rather than, encourage them to switch. I think there's, as David touched on a number of times, we need to really make this simple. There's a lot of confusion still out there, lots of complexity, multiple speeds, multiple products, different terms, gigabit, full fiber, not full fiber, true fiber. And, everyone's confused. And we need to really simplify that to make it easy to give a very straightforward product to our partners. That's what we're trying to do. For our partners then to sell on to the consumer in the most simple way that they can. And we're trying to work with partners to sort of create this exceptional customer experience. So keeping it simple, making the install as simple and as quick as it possibly can be. And we continue to push boundaries. We're gonna make mistakes. We need to learn. And as long as we do learn from them, we'll continue to set new industry standards. And we firmly believe that building a better digital infrastructure for Britain is what we're here to do. And CityFibre we're not prepared to just be good enough. We're really trying hard to say good enough is not good enough, and we need to build and design something that is better. So our aim is to sort of build something that is better by design, and then if everything is better, then the customer won't need the encouragement. The customers are going to want to come and experience full fibre anyway. And I think that's the key for me is simplicity and allowing the customer to really understand what full fibre brings and take away all the complexity that is around this in the market today.
Yes, we haven't helped ourselves as an industry, I think.
Not at all. Blame ourselves.
David, how would you come back to that?
I think Emma's really hit the nail on the head there with it's a process of education. Simplification would go a long way too. I'm really looking forward to the end of copper to the premises and should we say a slightly hazy description of what fibre broadband is still being allowed out there in the market today. And when the copper's all gone and everything is full fibre, it will be a very happy day, I think, for the UK as a whole, not just for the industry. I think in addition to that education piece about what the product is and keeping that simple, I think we've also got an opportunity to understand what full fibre can bring to them and how to try and take advantage of the digital opportunities that come. Some which have been forced on us by the pandemic in terms of working from home and the opportunities of hybrid working, the ability to have your work environment online and still have perhaps kids at home are on iPads and all of those devices work concurrently while someone's also watching 4K TV. That's a world which people are just starting to appreciate, and it's deliverable through full fibre. And I think, there's a great opportunity there that people are beginning to understand as they're adopting more and more of the home technology. They need the connectivity that will support it.
Yeah, I think the opportunities are limitless. And that brings me on to my final question. I promise my final question. Where do you think the market will be in 5 years' time, just to tie all this together? Emma, would you like to go first?
Yeah, gosh, 5 years time, seems like a long time. It seems like a long way away, but it actually will hit us, I'm sure. I think, 5 years time, we will have rolled out, we should have hit our 8 million home target, if not more, because obviously, there's a lot more out there for us to work with. So our build will be almost complete from the build that we have in place today. And I think, there's probably, I'd imagine there'll be a lot of consolidation in the market. There are a lot of people out there at the moment trying to do the same thing, and that can't continue. So I'd expect there to be some consolidation in the market for the uptake of full fibre to be so much greater than it is today, and for our builds to be almost complete.
And David, you've been around since the 1990s with HighNet. Where do you see the next 5 years ending up?
Well, we've obviously got changes happening with WLR withdrawal and with everybody building full fibre, and the massive amount of investment that's going into full fibre to future-proof us for the next 20, 30 years. And I think 5 years from now, we'll perhaps be scratching our heads wondering how we survived on that old copper infrastructure for quite so long. But I think we'll also start to take it for granted that 1 gig is entry level, and that brings challenges for the community of ISPs and service providers. As people consume more and more bandwidth, how can we adjust our technology and our systems and the capacity of our networks to deliver at the scale that's going to be required in 5 and 10 years' time? So there's some interesting challenges, and I think Emma's exactly right about consolidation. It's still a very young market, and as that market matures, we'll see all the usual kind of things that happen in maturing markets. But I think 5 years from now, there'll have been a little bit of weeding out, particularly at the infrastructure level. And there'll also be some businesses that have done very well for themselves and perhaps managed to time their exits perfectly for their owners. But hopefully we'll still be there selling broadband in 5 years' time, and plenty of it.
Guaranteed, as we're going to need faster, more reliable connectivity, infinitely. So yes, I think it's a good place to be, and I can't help but think that the rules and regulations surrounding broadband as well may look slightly different in 5-10 years' time as we move to a new technology. But perhaps that's one for a separate conversation in the future. I suppose it just calls on me to thank you both. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, David, for joining us today. Really interesting to get the perspective of the retail provider and an infrastructure builder as well, and see how closely you're working together as we see this revolution in broadband, as we like to call it. So thank you both, and forward to seeing you again at a future interview.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. Bye now.